Hey everyone, today we're getting ready to get into a mini series within a series. Now the main series is the American Negro experience in tabletop RPGs. Actually, it says the Negro experience, but I need to qualify it because that's specifically what I'm talking about here in America. So if you are across the pond and you're watching this, or across the border and you're watching this, you know what goes on there. I'm just telling you what's up here in the United States. And this is going to be a multi-part series because we have to get deep into this. Now, where I came up with the idea for the video was from you guys, from reading the comments of my most popular video, 4 Reasons Why Black People Don't Play Tabletop RPGs. Now, you're going to hear me refer to Black folks as Negroes because that's actually a better description of who we are. And I lay out why I'm saying Negroes, because some of y'all will probably be saying, why does he keep saying that? Well, in my videos, The Myth of the White and the Black Race, 2-part series, I explain that in detail. So you'll be hearing Negroes far more than you'll be hearing Black. Now, as I was reading these comments from that video, I started to see this reoccurring theme. And the theme was another reason why Black people don't play tabletop RPGs. Kept coming up over and over again. And it was, well, it's because they're not represented in the tabletop RPG itself. And just to be sure here, we're not talking about around the table. We're not talking about Negroes around the table. That was in the last video, 4 Reasons Why Black People Don't Play Tabletop RPGs. We're talking about represented in the actual game itself. That's what we're talking about when we talk about representation. And there were different nuances of this, but that was the general gist. The problem with that idea and the problem with that argument is that it doesn't hold any water whatsoever. None. And that is why we're going to spend several videos just cutting the legs off from under that faulty premise. Now, I understand. When you guys talk about this, I know it's from well-meaning people who were talking about that. As a matter of fact, in all the comments that I saw, and trust me, I did not read all of the comments. Okay, we've got, I don't know, over 2,500 comments or something like that on that video. Okay, I didn't read all of them. Well, the ones that I read that mentioned that, it was from Caucasian folks. I think I might have seen one that was from a Negro. But the vast majority of them was from Caucasian folks. And I know that you guys are well-meaning. I get it. Because you've been sold that bill of goods and you've been drinking that Kool-Aid. And even though you are well-meaning in that, you're not thinking. And this is what this series is going to be about. The other side that actually thinks through that faulty argument and stomps it into the ground because it needs to be. Now, this might be your first time coming to the channel and you're wondering, what is up with this dude? What is he talking about? Well, first, you need to go to those other videos that I talked about. But before you do that, let me welcome you here to this place. This is RPG Elite. This is where we put the RP back into RPG. And how do we do that? Giving you tools, tips, tutorials, and just what we're doing here today. That real talk about the tabletop RPG space and culture, talking about things that ain't nobody talking about. I don't know if anybody's talking about this stuff. I know people have said to me in my last videos and in those other videos that I've done, they said, ain't nobody talking about this. All right, I'll talk about this. And I know some of you are like, well, you know, if I were to talk about it and I'm a white dude, I'd get this, that, and the third. I get you. I'm going to get, that's another video actually, because that's a false premise too. You can talk about it. You can. Don't let no one sell you that silly bill of goods. Don't. But I digress. We're going to move on here today and we're going to debunk this lie. It is a lie. And I know, again, I'm going to repeat it. Uncle Servant in the hizzy, and he coming off strong. Yes, I am. Number one, because this is a lie. Number two, you should be thinking through this stuff. You've grown enough to do that. But I do love y'all, which is why I'm coming off with the tough love in this video. And I know that there's going to be some people who disagree. Disagree not on the basis of facts, because you know that's what I'm laying out, but we'll disagree on the basis of feeling, which is the problem. That right there is the issue. Now, if you're looking to see this every week, you ain't going to get it. Okay? This is just one video in a series. I usually come out like once a month. And I know some of you come here for the classic tabletop RPG stuff, or the tips, or, you know, the commentary. Well, I'm just telling you ahead of time, and you probably already know if you're part of the channel, that I come out with commentary videos only when it's relevant to my agenda and what I want to do with this channel. And I do have an agenda. See, I keep it 100. Now, I mean, I am not trying to hide anything. WYSIWYG, folks. There is an agenda. And this subject happens to be a part of the agenda. It just is. So we are going to talk about this probably in the next couple of months. I'm thinking it might be 3 parts. I'm thinking, I don't know, but from what I've written out in the script, looks like 3 videos on this. So let's get into this today, and we're going to look first at the 2 legs that this false premise stands on, and we're just going to chop them right down right now. So the first one is anime. Now, how does anime have anything to do with tabletop RPGs? Well, it actually has to do with the whole argument of representation, more so than tabletop RPGs. Let me explain. I've also seen in the comments, and I know this to be the truth, that Black folks flock to anime more than tabletop RPGs. They're going over there, and I'm not one of them because I don't like anime. But there are a lot of Negroes who flock to anime. Now, listen, folks, have you ever seen anime? That's Japanese, by the way. And there's little to no representation of Negroes in anime. Therefore, it can't be representation based on that. And because of that, it cuts the leg out from under the premise that, well, it's because they're not represented. No, they're not represented over there, and yet you got Black folks rushing over there. Well, there's another one, though, that has to do directly with tabletop RPGs. There's already representation in tabletop RPGs. Has been for quite a long while now. So when we are looking at the games that have been coming out, the representation is there. Let me give you an example. Numenera. Numenera has on the cover a Negro, at least light skin, but is a Negro. On the cover, inside is some beautiful artwork. That game is gorgeous, by the way. And there are Negroes all over the place in that game. And yet we don't see this mass influx of Negroes wanting to play Numenera. Now, why is that? Or some of the other games, Cyberpunk, Shadowrun, they're there too. So what's going on? I mean, Numenera came out in like 2013 or something. So we're going on a decade of this. Now you could say, oh, but there are more Negroes that are coming into tabletop RPGs. Yes, but correlation does not imply causation in this case. Because we've already seen over in anime that there are a disproportionate amount of Negroes who are flock over there, but still don't flock to tabletop RPGs, even though there's representation in tabletop RPGs. The argument falls on its face. But there is one reason that nobody's brought up. And they haven't brought it up because, again, there hasn't been any kind of deep thinking about it. And this falls under, I would say, in a broad general sense, ignorance in my 4 reasons why Black people don't play tabletop RPGs video. You might even say that this is a reason in and of itself. The Negro culture in America, they don't read. They just don't read. It's not something that is a part of the culture. And it is sad. Now, you might be saying, well, what does that have to do with tabletop RPGs? I'll get to that in a second. Not only do they don't read, they don't do math. Let's look at the facts, folks. This is from the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which is part of the Department of Education here in the United States. These are the facts. And we're talking about the Negro community here, okay? Here in America. 84% of Black students lack proficiency in mathematics. And 85% of Black students lack proficiency in reading skills. Let me tell you about the states. Let's just go from a couple of the states and the statistics for the Negro community in America when it comes to reading and mathematics. In New York, the numbers are 85% and 82% respectively. In Illinois, it's 86% and 85%. In Texas, the numbers are 84% and 89%. Maryland sits at 86% for math and 80% for reading. And in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., numbers 85% for math and 87% for reading. It's said that they are functional illiterates and can't do math. So let's go back to the question that I asked earlier. What does this got to do with tabletop RPGs? Everything. When you set down a book, which is what a tabletop RPG is, and you have to do basic math in over 90% of tabletop RPGs, and you bring this into the Negro community with these numbers, you're going to get droves of folks who are not interested because, well, you have to do a little bit of math and a little bit of reading. And when you're setting down tomes, I'm talking about books that are thick, like Numenera is a great example. Monty Cook Games just came out with a game called Ptolis. That's like over 700 pages. And you put that in front of somebody who doesn't know how to read or do math, all you're seeing is on their faces deer in headlights. This is a scary prospect for them. They might even have an interest in it, but now you're talking about them having to do something that they're not able to do. And you know what's funny about the Negro community? If there are Negroes who actually read and know how to do math, well then we are said to be trying to be white. I ain't lying. It's like stupidity is lifted up in the Negro community. And those of you who are Negroes know exactly what I'm talking about. You know it. Oh, well, you trying to be, if you have some intelligence and read a book or you know how to do this stuff or speak proper, oh man, well, you must be trying to be white. Get out of here with that nonsense. No, I'm not trying to be white. I'm trying to be intelligent. You must be trying to be stupid if that's the case. Come on. Do you even hear what you're saying when you say that stupidity? Do you even hear what you're saying when you say that nonsense? That makes no sense whatsoever. And yet we have that across the board. It's not something that's inculcated. It's a generational curse that gets passed down from generation to generation. And it has to do mainly with the education system. Because the education system here in the United States, in the public schools, they're not interested in education per se. Education should be teaching you how to think. Those of you who have seen past commentary videos that I talk about thinking a lot, because that is what is lacking. And the education system has failed the Negro community here in the United States. And it's failed the Negro community because it doesn't teach students how to think. This is not education that's going on. See, because instead of teaching kids how to think, they want to teach kids what to think. And folks, that goes from education to indoctrination. And that's why we've got these numbers. They don't know how to think. And so we are raising up functional illiterates, and these people are graduating. I used to have a Bible study in my home, all college students, and they're all Negroes. And this was way back in the day, years and years ago. But I remember I would talk to them And I'm thinking to myself, these are college students, right? You guys know this stuff, right? So I would talk to them and use words, and they would look at me like deer in headlights and be like, you're talking over our heads. And I would be like, I am? How am I talking over your head? You are in college. I'm using words that you should know from high school, and I'm talking over your head? My first question was, how in the world did you get into college? How did that happen? I could tell you how that happened, but of course, that's another thing. But when it comes to tabletop RPGs, it could be maybe that they're just intimidated by the whole fact that you have to do math and you have to do reading. They just don't know how. And they don't know how, not because they can't, just because they won't. I mean, you ask young Negroes, hey, what is it what you want to do when you grow up? They want to be a YouTuber. They want to be a rapper. They want to be in sports. Those are probably the top three right there. Doctor, engineer, some in the computers. Well, yeah, well, not so much. It's not that they're non-existent. They're out there with small numbers. Why? Because everybody else wants to be something else that ain't got nothing to do with reading and nothing to do with math, even though those things actually do have something to do with reading and math. But they won't find that out until later, and they have to settle for things. And so when it comes to their hobbies, right? And you're talking about tabletop RPGs, and you have to, as a hobby, read and do some basic arithmetic. Of course, you're gonna get a drove of Negroes not wanting to do that. So we're just getting started here. And those are the facts. And those are things that we actually have to think about, even though some of that stuff may make us feel uncomfortable, but that's just the way that it is. Now, obviously you have your outliers. I'm obviously an outlier, right? I don't do anime, and I'm a guy who likes to read. Look, behind me, there is a bookcase. There are actually books in there that I have read and do read. I have over 500, 600 books here in my house. My mom used to, as a punishment, take away my books. She used to drive me insane. I hated it. She used to take away my books when I was acting up. Today, that being a thing? Nah, heck no. I know that there's going to be some people, regardless of what has been laid out in this video, who will continue to say it's representation is representation. Okay. Now those people are doing that for a reason. They don't realize that when they do that, that they are doing nothing but hurting Negroes every time that they say that. And I'm going to get into that in the next video in this series. Question of the vid is this, and this is specifically for those of you who are in minorities or are Negroes, and this could be anywhere, or Latino or anything else. When it comes to tabletop RPGs, how important was it that you were represented in the tabletop RPG? On a scale of 1 to 10, how important was it that that be a thing? Go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Okay, folks, that's going to do it for me. Hey, if you like the video, you know what you need to do. Crush the like button, please, pretty please. And hey, if you've seen a couple of the other videos and you're a returnee, or this video was good enough for you to where you want to subscribe, then go ahead, hit that subscribe button. If you want to, you can hit the notification bell too, but you know, again, that's optional. Talked about that before. And me, I am going to go prepare for Friday's video. God willing, got another one coming for ya. So our brother has got to.
So exit, stage left.
That's gonna do it for me. Hey, there's a couple of those videos that I talked about is right here. And until next time, peace and hair grease.